Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to close your eyes for a second and imagine that right now you are a trillionaire. Seriously, congratulations. You are officially the richest person to ever walk the face of the earth. Just to put that into perspective, your net worth is literally greater than 4 Jeff Bezoses combined. The entire world is completely in the palm of your hand.
Think about this for a second. 2,700 years. If you started dropping $1 million every single day, it would take you almost 3 millennia just to go broke. It sounds incredible, right? Like the ultimate dream. But, well, here's the immediate catch, and it kind of shatters the whole fantasy. Everyone knows you are instantly the most famous, most heavily watched person on the planet. Your face is literally on every screen in every country. There are hundreds of people standing outside your building right now. Some with cameras, some with signs, some just staring blankly up at your window. Suddenly, paranoia isn't just some disorder, it's a basic survival instinct.
Since your old life is officially over, the security has to escalate, and I mean immediately. Let's see how this builds. You try hiring a bodyguard, right? Yeah, not even close to enough. So you upgrade to a full detail. We're talking 12 armed, highly trained operators on rotating 24-hour shifts. It's the kind of protection usually reserved for sitting presidents. But your old apartment? It's an absolute nightmare of paparazzi, so you're forced to drop $200 million on a 14-acre walled compound, complete with iron gates and a private road. And just to run a place that massive, you've got to employ 63 full-time staff members. Housekeepers, chefs, property managers, even a dedicated IT staff just to run the security grid. But hey, you are finally safe, completely sealed away from the cameras.
So now that your personal fortress is totally secure, you need a new ride. I mean, your old Honda Civic definitely isn't going to cut it anymore. But you don't just go down to the dealership and buy a Bugatti. No. You buy the entire Bugatti company for $2 billion.
Now, what's truly mind-bending here is the math behind a massive purchase like that. That $2 billion, it represents just 0.2% of your total net worth. Literally, to you, buying a historic, world-renowned automotive company feels exactly the same as someone making $100 grand a year heading to the mall and buying a winter jacket. To your accountants, a $2 billion acquisition is quite literally logged as a rounding error.
Since your whole security machine basically runs itself now, you get a little bored. So you start shopping. You buy a Boeing 747, gut the whole thing, and turn it into a $400 million flying residence. You randomly pick up a private island in the South Pacific, you commission a $600 million superyacht equipped with a helicopter pad, a medical facility, and yeah, its own submarine bay. But here is the twisted irony of extreme wealth. Nobody warns you that $1 trillion makes money faster than you can actually spend it. Even if you're sitting in the most conservative, boring investments on Earth, your net worth is growing by tens of millions every single day. You literally wake up richer than when you went to sleep without lifting a single finger.
Okay, so the money is handled. The travel is handled. But what happens to the simple things? Say you just want a cup of coffee from your favorite local spot. In the old days, it was quick, simple, totally anonymous. Now, your security team requires a 45-minute advance notice. When you finally walk in, the entire shop goes dead silent. The barista's hands are visibly shaking as they pour your drink. Somebody in the corner is secretly filming you from behind their laptop. The coffee tastes exactly the same, but the whole human experience around it, completely ruined. So, you just stop going.
Desperate for some kind of purpose, you decide to turn to philanthropy. You see a crisis on the news, and boom, you write a massive $500 million check for disaster relief. But here is the grim reality check. They will thank you for exactly half a news cycle. Why? Because to the public, $500 million is just what you earn in a slow week. People are grateful for maybe a day, and then the chorus begins all over again. They always want more. Your massive, unprecedented generosity suddenly feels entirely meaningless.
And this brilliantly illustrates how this distortion inevitably bleeds into your closest relationships. Your phone is ringing constantly, but it's never friends anymore. It's wealth managers, politicians, charity directors, everyone wanting a piece of you. So, longing for a real connection, you invite your old college roommate out to the compound. You guys used to argue about movies, politics, where to eat. That was the whole foundation of your friendship. But the new friendship? He's careful. He measures every single word. He laughs at your jokes that honestly aren't even funny, and agrees with absolutely everything you say. The money has completely distorted him into a cautious yes man.
Then comes the relentless legal avalanche. Because you don't just get sued once. No, you get hit with 17 lawsuits in your first 6 months alone. An old business partner claims you shorted him on a deal almost a decade ago. A woman in Arizona, a state you have literally never even visited, swears you verbally promised her $10 million. Your lawyers tell you it's entirely frivolous garbage, but every single case costs 6 figures just to fight in court. So you settle a few for $1 million or $2 here and there, treating them as, you guessed it, rounding errors. But every settlement hits the news, and every report invites 5 more lawsuits from people who are more than willing to lie under oath just to get a tiny piece of your fortune.
It gets so bad that your lawyers pull you aside and give you this incredibly sobering piece of advice. They tell you the legal system is a toll, and you are the deepest pocket on earth. Let that sink in. You now have an entire floor of a massive law firm working exclusively on your cases. Your personal legal budget crosses $40 million a year just defending you against an endless line of strangers. Let's slow down for a second here. Imagine you actually manage to meet someone amidst all this absolute chaos. A sharp, funny woman who catches you totally off guard and doesn't mention your wealth even once. It actually starts to feel like something real. But a few weeks in, she mentions your island. She knows your pilot's first name. She looked you up. I mean, of course she did. But now this psychological thriller begins playing out in your own mind. Does she actually like you, or does she just like this? The compound, the private jet, the exclusive access? Once that seed of paranoia gets into your head, it stays there. You start watching her differently, and eventually, you just stop calling.
But simply walking away doesn't stop the damage. In fact, it leads to the total collapse of your privacy. A waiter at a restaurant you two visited together sells the story of your secret romance to a tabloid. Suddenly, this woman's face, her job, her apartment, it's all public knowledge. Complete strangers start sending her threats. She had a perfectly normal private life, and your mere presence completely erased it. And the leaks, they don't stop there. An old friend from your college dorm takes a joke you made back in 2011, strips it of all context, and sells it to a magazine, making you look terrible to millions of strangers.
Your crisis PR team jumps in immediately, telling you what they always tell you. Do not respond. It only makes things worse. So you just sit there in your office, hidden behind 7 glowing monitors, completely and utterly isolated. And it hits you that $250,000 is the exact price tag a former friend put on your past. That is exactly what your loyalty was worth to them. And the worst part? You can't even confront them about it because doing so just creates another massive news story.
This toxic isolation eventually seeps deep into your own family. You hear through the grapevine that your brother is struggling to pay his mortgage and fix his car. Now, you have more money than some literal countries, so you quietly wire him a few $1 million to help out. But at the family holiday dinner, which, by the way, you flew everyone to on your private 747, the dynamic is just heartbreaking. He sits at the absolute far end of the table. He talks to your cousins, your aunt, literally everyone except you. He just stares at his plate, leaves before dessert, and doesn't even say goodbye. A week later, your mother calls. Her tone is incredibly quiet. She tells you that your brother confided in a cousin, saying that you ruined the family. His exact words, "Everything changed when the money came." Your mother isn't trying to take sides here. She's just a woman who never asked for a security detail, watching her family fracture in real time. A family that used to fit easily around a simple kitchen table now requires a massive catering staff and a 747 just to be in the same room. And you realize, with this sinking feeling, that you can't un-in the money. You can't close that gap.
So the crucial point is that to survive all of this, your life is forced to adapt. Your home becomes this sterile, paranoid machine. When a tabloid runs yet another story, your security team doesn't even panic anymore. They just trace the leak through photo metadata, matching the specific angle to a window in the east wing of your compound. They logically narrow the access down to 3 people. They identify Linda, the housekeeper. On Wednesday, she is mechanically escorted off the property with a cardboard box by men in dark suits. You don't speak to her. You just watch it happen from a window. By Friday, she's already been replaced.
Desperate to escape the pressure cooker of the compound, you take the super yacht out. The ocean is perfectly blue, the sunset turns absolutely everything gold. You sit down and are served pan-seared sole, prepared by a private chef with a decade of Michelin star experience. But you look across all this breathtaking, unimaginable luxury, and the table is set for one. You have reached the absolute peak of human material success, and it is just a crushingly hollow experience.
You finally return home. It's 3 a.m., and you just can't sleep. You get up and start wandering the massive, dead-silent halls of your compound. You pass the empty 60-seat theater. You pass the empty library.
As you walk down the main corridor, the only sound in the entire house is this faint mechanical hum. It's the security camera at the end of the hall, adjusting its lens, tracking your every single step. You stop walking, it stops moving. You are perfectly protected, and you are perfectly alone. You step outside onto the lawn. The grass is cold and wet under your bare feet. You look up, and there it is. The exact same sky, the same stars, the same deep silence you used to stare at from the roof of your old, cheap apartment building back when your rent was late and you didn't even care. It suddenly hits you that those stars haven't moved an inch. Everything underneath them has completely transformed, but the sky didn't.
You eventually head back inside. The very next week, you return from a trip to Italy. You pass the guardhouse, the pool you've used maybe 3 times, the tennis court you've literally never touched, and you sit at your desk while a news ticker mentions your name twice in just 30 seconds. Outside your window, the groundskeeper rides the mower. Security does a shift change. Over 60 people work here, day in and day out, keeping this massive machine humming. But it leaves us with this final, truly haunting question. Are you the only one who actually lives here? Honestly, it really makes you wonder if having the entire world in the palm of your hand is truly worth the ultimate cost of your humanity.